Yeah.
Are you going to do the trainings once the semester begins, or are they going to end once the semester begins?
Nope, we could keep going. We
Oh,
can
good,
keep
because I'm
going.
starting to panic too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I feel you. I transferred. I think I told you guys like I'd prefer to start from scratch. Like I transferred everything in, and I was like, nope, I can't do this. It just doesn't work with my brain. So I cleared it all out and had all that stuff in there. And then I decided last week I was like, nope, and I deleted everything again because
Oh, no.
it wasn't working for me. So I'll also share the approach that I'm working on now that I think is a little smoother for me in terms of setting it up. So you can think about that. But otherwise, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll find which one of my many tabs we are working in today. Right. Everybody see yourselves? All right. Oh, nope, wrong one. Let's see. All right. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the management sides like the grade book. I think this one's it.
Good.
All right. So when you are in your course, whatever it may be, and you're here up along the top right now, we should all have grades as one of our items. And when you click on grades, this is where the grade book will live. So you can see when you have a bunch of students in here, you could have final grades, columns, whatever the assignment is. There's also their calculated grade based on what's there. And then if you wanted to give them like an adjusted grade, like if you ended up for some reason curving everybody's, or if you're a rounder, or if you have like unofficial bonus points. So you can set all of those up. The very first time you log into grades, we have this fancy button here called Setup Wizard. And you will click on Setup Wizard, and it will walk you through all of the settings that you want to have for your gradebook. So if you scroll down, this will be like an overview of things that you have chosen in the past. If you don't remember, you can always come back here to see them. But down at the bottom, you'll just click Start, and you can see which step you're on. There are 7 steps. So the first one is your grading system. So most of us either do a weighted method or a points method, so you can choose whichever one you like. Personally, I'm a weighted person. There's also the option for a formula. So if you do some like crazy weird thing and you do some things points and some things weighted and whichever, we can actually customize that for you with a special formula. But for right now, I'm going to do weighted. And when you click through, it'll take you to step 2. And the nice thing is it kind of it explains everything for you. So what do you want to release in terms of their final grade? I chose adjusted because you could modify or adjust the grades before releasing them. If you don't do anything like that, you can always just do the calculated final grade. And then there's also the option here to automatically release it. So as soon as a final grade is created, it will be released to the students. And it does say you can still alter the release status after being automatically created.
Excuse me, Katt, I'm not seeing are you doing a screen share?
Yes.
Okay, I'll figure out what's going on my end. Thanks.
Yep. Can everybody else see it?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Just want to make sure it's not not me and I could reshare. If it still doesn't show up, let me know and I could stop and restart the screen share and that might make it work because sometimes things are finicky. Right. But we'll go ahead and click continue. And then it takes us to step 3. How do you want to treat ungraded items? You want to drop them, meaning they're not included in the calculation? Do you want to treat them as a 0? And do you want to automatically keep your final grade updated? So whatever you like. Once again, continue. So basically just choosing all of your options. How do you want grades? What's your default grade scheme? If you want it to be letters or percentages, pass, fail. I assume most of us will be percentages. So that's what it defaults to currently. how many decimal places you want to display. And then here are the student view display options. So when a student gets a grade, what are they going to see? Are they going to see the points grade, the weighted grade, grade scheme symbol? So if you don't know what it is, you can always click on the little question marks. So the grade scheme symbol associated with the grade, like a letter grade per se. You can also have it show the color if you want. Number of decimal places and how many characters to display for text items. And do you want to display the final grade calculation to users? So whatever items you want to show. And this is just your generic. If you have a specific grade item, you can actually override these display settings. And you can change it for one. If for one you say, oh, they don't need to actually see their weighted grade for this one, they only need to see their points, you can do that with an individual item. So lots of continuing. And then step 7 is just a summary of everything that you have, and you can click, scroll down, and hit finish. All right, any questions on the setup wizard?
Katt, it's Deb Hoken again. I just have a quick question. So you can always go back and change these if it's not working or you want to do something different. Specifically that, I think it was step 2, where you could modify the grade, you know.
Yeah, so like you can always click on it and click start again.
Yeah.
You cannot jump to whatever step it is, but you could always go here and say like, I don't want to automatically release it. Right. And hit continue.
So when you unclick that automatically release it, what does that mean? Then there's no grade displayed on the student's side. Is that what that means?
Yeah, you should have to kind of click a button to release what
grades, yeah,
item it will be.
Yeah, would there be any? I mean, I'm trying to think of a reason why you wouldn't want to do that.
So I always release mine because I think it's better for them to know. So. Right. I don't have a good use case.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay. I was just, I'm thinking, is there something that I'm missing? But okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think so, Deb.
Yeah, this looks much easier than the Moodle.
This is so much better than Moodle.
So then for someone like me, because I do the weights, I especially need categories to weight my categories. So like the grade options, it sets you up right there. So I could say like, I'm going to do discussions. If you want to give it a short name, you can. And then the weight for me. So I'm going to say, you know, discussions are 3% of the grade. If you want it to go above 100%, like if you give bonus assignments, you can set it. If you want it to max out at that weight, you can leave it. And then you can choose the distribution. So manually assign weight items in the category. So like, are some discussions worth more than others? And I can make one discussion 30 points and the other discussion 10 points. So I just distribute the weight evenly across all items. So that's what I do because all of my discussions are worth the same. And then you can actually choose if you're going to drop highs and lows for different things and how many you would like to drop. And then once again, we have those display options. So it has the default options that we set up in our wizard, but you can choose to override those and say like they don't need the grade scheme symbol and color in these ones. So I could turn those off if I wanted. You also have the option if you'd like to show the grade distribution and the class average. So, any questions so far?
Well, I'm looking at mine, Katt, and mine pulled over, because I pulled over my Moodle shell. So it pulled over all of my graded, what I called everything. So do I just have to then recategorize everything? Like say discussion, like group all the discussions and assignments together?
Yeah, so like I would go through the setup wizard just to make sure it still has all your settings right. And then you could go through and move things. There's also, you can hide graded categories. So like if you don't want a category to show up, or if you end up like if you have an honors section, you might have an extra grade piece for some of your honors students, and you don't want that to show up for your other students. So you could use that. But after you have it set up, if that's the only one you needed, you could hit save and close. If you needed another category, you could hit save and new.
So in other words, we don't do it in the assignment itself, like in Moodle, you set it up in the assignment?
So this is just the actual gradebook and how it's calculating. So like this is where you're setting up your categories and different items, but you can add a grade item here. Just like in Moodle, you could actually add a grade item right to the gradebook. But another item would be that when you're adding an assignment somewhere, right? We kind of looked at it last week, but I said we'd go over it again this week. Down here, it has grade item.
Okay.
So you can say like, I want it to be in the oh, I don't have an actual grade item under discussions, but you'll hit new grade item. And I'm going to choose a numeric grade. You can also choose a select box. So like if you just wanted it to be very good or B+, how you want to grade that item. So I'm going to choose numeric, and then I'm going to say, you know, this was a assignment 1. I wanted to, all right, I think I already made a test one like that. 12, this was assignment 12. What category you wanted to put in those items. Can you go over the 10-point maximum? Is this a bonus assignment? You want to stick with percentages? Do you want it to show as pass fail? And then you can save it. Oh, I didn't enter the weight. So all of those items, and then when you hit save and within out of score is required. Jeez Louise. So you can say, and then they show you a student preview of what the grade looks like, which I think is nice. And if you're like, that's not what I want to display, you can change it. You can add a rubric for grading, like we talked about last week. Let's save and close. And it'll show up here. And if we go back to grades now, you can see that I have that assignment 12 in the discussions. In the stars, it's a bonus assignment.
Okay, so you can just, you only have to do it one time, and you can choose where you do it. You could do it either in the assignment or you could do it in the gradebook.
Yes, because from here you could just do new item and then choose that grade item from the drop-down menu. So for me, it's been easiest to do it when I'm making the assignments, and I'll talk more about that later with my new approach that I have found to be somewhat speedy.
Okay, thank you.
In setting them up. But yeah, so you have the manage grades will be like where a list of all of your things are, and if you need to move things to different categories, you could do that. Reorder. So you can move things around. The schemes, I don't assume most of us will be touching the schemes because we'll kind of set those up for us at the organizational level. So you can add your own, like if you wanted to say this is how I grade, but most of us tend to stick to these basic ones when we're actually assigning grades. So I don't think we'll need those too much. But if you have specific questions about those, we can go through your specific use case together. All right. But then this is kind of like that overview grade page like we have, and you can click on an individual student, not that they have any grades, but it'll take you to their grades progress. So you can look at their grades, and you'd see a summary of what their grades are. If we have objectives tied, you'll be able to see an overview of all their objectives. You can see their login history. So if they're like, I access your class all the time and I'm struggling, you can look at it and be like, you don't.
Never.
Yeah. You can get an overview of their discussions and see how many posts they've read, how many posts they've made, and how many replies they've made for like your whole course. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I think there was somebody had some background noise and it stopped and I was like, did I get cut off? All right. But yeah, so this page is, I think, really a nice addition for us to get like a overview or like dive into each student, and you can see all the different things that you have. What's their average quiz score? How many have they done? Do they have quizzes they still need to do? And then in the content, it'll actually show you like how much of the content they've completed for each module that you have set up. And this one, I know this is big for some accredited programs, like the time that they've spent or making sure they've watched videos for a certain amount of time. So this will definitely help with making sure that they're in the course, maybe not on specific videos, but that they're in the course for a bit. Any questions so far? Kind of jumping around a little as we go. So once again, to get to this page with students from grades, I'm just clicking on the little graph icon next to their name. And it's bringing me to all of the pieces. Another way that you can kind of get an overview of your class is by clicking on class progress. And that'll kind of show you an overview. And so content completed, objectives, quizzes, and grades. So you can get a quick overview of your class. If you don't have objectives in your class, which at this point none of us do because I'm still figuring out how to set them up, you can change to what's displayed. So if forums are big in your class, we can actually choose something else to put there. So I'm going to get their discussion participation summary on here. And while it's nice to see their content, I'd rather see their login history. And then that's what will show up across the top here. And we can see the different items. So here's the demo student. You can see they've logged in one time because that was me today.
Now, how did you, where are you putting this? Is this under grade still? Oh, progress.
So this one is class progress, okay. And it'll be defaulted to 4 things. And if you don't like those 4 things, you can click the settings button. And then for each item, you can choose the drop-down arrow and you can replace it with something different. And you can, of course, it says like move down, you can reorder them to display in the order that you like. So you can look at what's important to you when you're looking at like a snapshot of your class's performance.
And do they see that as well? Are they able to see that or no? Their own performance?
No. Okay. Yes, so they can see their own. So I'll show it in a minute because I do have this student view pulled up over here, but I wanted to let you see this. Here, we'll just jump to this. So I did leave this up just to show you. So when a student submits an assignment, they'll get a page that says file submission successful. They can see a link to what they submitted. You can also add video comments as part of their submission. This is the video note for my, let's turn me off. And they have the option to also do the captions for their videos. So that's super fun. But it'll also send them an email to confirm their submission. And then they have the option to upload more files, depending on your settings, and they can hit done. But the student does have a class progress button. When they click on it, they can see this same overview page. So this is just a summary of everything, but they could also click into themselves and see How am I doing on my discussions? How am I doing on my quizzes? So they will be able to see everything about themselves. Any other questions so far? All right. If I switch back over to the student view, quick, I'm going to go into an assignment. On the assignments page, which is nice, is you'll kind of get this overview of everything about all of your assignments. So I can see that this assignment has a grade item, and I can see that anonymous marking is enabled. So when you're setting up your assignment, one of the options you can choose is that you don't know whose submission it is while you're grading it, but it'll also tell you how many are new, completed, evaluated, and feedback published. If you have a due date, it will also show here. I'm going to click on this one, submission, so we can see kind of what the grading would look like. So we have the submission over here, so I could view the sample document. It's time to make pie, guys. This is my project for a leadership thing I'm doing right now, so it's a fun time. But you can also look at, you'll notice that I did turn on the anonymous grading. So it says anonymous user 13. You can look at the student view of it. You can show the assignment dates if you wanted to be reminded of what they are right here. But here's the rubric. It says not scored, so I could click on it and open up that rubric and say, all right, this one gets a 1, a 3, a 2. All right, and we'll see it gives an automatic score right here. Say they really got in between one of these, kind of like we talked about last week, I could always override it and say they get the half point. And close it. You'll see the score automatically updates over here. And even though my rubric was only out of 9, I weighted this assignment as 100, so it automatically scaled the score to the points that I wanted to use. You can see your student preview, and once again, you can edit those display settings if you don't like it. And then we have our video area, so if you wanted to provide audio or video or feedback, if you had a file to give them, or if you just wanted to type a comment, you could do all of that. You can save your feedback as a draft, or you can hit publish. And thanks.
Do you have to grade from a rubric?
You don't have to grade from a rubric. I added a rubric to this assignment. So here, let me go back. And if I edit this assignment, I'm going to take the rubric off. And then if I go back into this one I was grading before, so you can see it says no rubric selected now. So I could just give them a grade out of whatever I wanted to. And then give them a grade. But yeah, you don't have to have a rubric with it. Eventually, it's not here on our demo site, but it is on our live site. There is a quick eval button, which is super nice. And I wish I could get it to work on the demo site. But what the quick eval button does, if I come back to you guys, miss your smiling faces. So the quick eval button lets you see everything that has to be graded for all of your classes in one space. So like if you log in and you're like, I'm going to grade for an hour, it'll show you everything and you can just go through all of your classes. The other piece is you could even filter it. So like if you're like, I want to start with the oldest things, you can say like, I want stuff that's older than 7 days, which hopefully we don't have anything older than 7 days. Hopefully. But you could do that and it'll pull those pieces up for you first. And you can start with those. And you could filter by class. So if you wanted to grade everything that's in one class, you could. If you have same sections of a class and you're like, they all had to do the business plan assignment, you could grade all of the business plan assignments across all of the classes. So yes, that's exciting. I wish, like I said, I wish I could get it to work in our demo site. I think I might have that setting turned off somewhere because I feel like I remember seeing it at some point. It is in our live site though. If you guys want to make note, for those of you that are definitely going to be using Brightspace in the fall, our website for Brightspace is learn.marywood.edu. So I'll also throw it in the chat here. We are in the process of getting the single sign-on turned on for everybody. But if you were to type that into your web page right now, you would actually go to our sign-in page for our live instance of Brightspace. You just can't sign in yet.
I assume that the syllabus that I'm working on right now will be made live.
Made live in what way?
Well, right now I'm working on the one that you made a shell for me.
Yes. Yeah. So basically everybody that like you have your stuff in the demo space, we're going to get all of that moved over to the live site. So if your syllabus is there, we'll move it all over. All right. Now, let's see. So I will, are there any more questions on anything that we've seen so far? It was really just about setting up your grade book and being able to grade things and look at your students' progress areas. Oh, I thought of one thing I forgot, guys. So, somewhere, I think it's on. All right. Can everybody see me? All right. Oh, I'm on the student one. That's why. I was like, why are there buttons missing? So, in your course, under class projects or class progress, we have use agents to automate feedback. And if you click on that, it's basically a way to set up email triggers for students. So I'm going to name this one no logins. Agent is on. So all users visible in the class will get it. So take action when the following login criteria are satisfied. So user has not logged in for at least 5 days. When that happens, oh, they've not logged in, and the user has not accessed the course for at least 5 days. There you go. So course activity versus login activity, completing items. You could do separate ones, but then down here in actions, so you could say take action only the first time the agent's criteria are satisfied for a user. This one I'm going to set to take every time. So every time they don't log in for 5 days, I'm going to send them an email. And I could say, you know, like, hey, what's up? You can say, hey, first name. I haven't seen you in a while. What's up? And you can, you know, sign it, right? You can add other things. But then, I'm sorry, I have to add it too. Select one or more recipients. Emails come. All right. The email part is weird. I'll have to figure out what special email addresses can I use. I'm pretty sure it's there. Initiating user. So I knew there was one. I couldn't think of what it was. So we could say initiating user. So every time I have a student who doesn't log in for 5 days, so every time I have a user, every time they don't log in for 5 days, they're going to get an email that says, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. What's up? To kind of get the ball rolling. And then when you hit save and close, it'll show up here on the agents piece. And so now I don't have to worry so much about checking. Like I'll still look at the logins, but I could get an update if I wanted to be notified every time I have a student who doesn't log in for 5 days. I could add myself the CC or BCC if you didn't want them to see that you were getting it for whatever reason. But so that's one way that you can kind of help manage your class. If you had something like remedial assignments, you could also set up agents. So like if a student does poorly on a quiz, you could say, oh, hey, I noticed you didn't do so well. You might want to check out this additional resource, or you might want to do this additional assignment for extra practice. So remedial, it's not based on login or course activity, so I'm going to skip those. But this one has a release condition. So I'm going to say when they get a score on an associated rubric, so I'm going to say on the sample, oh, there was no rubric. Not rubric, I took it off. Oh, sorry. So I could do a grade value on an item. So I'll choose my grade item, and I could say if they get less than or equal to a 70, they're going to get this email. So, and they're going to send an email. I'm going to send it to my initiating. I'm having a lot of trouble spelling that word, guys. Initiating user. I don't need to blind copy myself on that. So, you know, hey, checking in. And then you could say like, I noticed you struggled. Check out this link. And then you can add a link to you can click the link button. If you had a remedial assignment, you could link it to that assignment. If you wanted to say, hey, you might want to check out this piece of content again, you could link to that. If it's a separate website, you could always just link to a URL outside. But different items, maybe you're going to have them reflect on it and do a self-assessment type thing and say, those are already built in. So I can create a new one here. That's fun. So you could create a new one and ask them to do things with it because they didn't do too hot. Reflect maybe, what are you going to do better next time? But so you can kind of play around with those and see if you think any of them might work for you or if you need any of them. But those are some of the ones that I'm thinking about doing. Any questions on the auto agents? Where are you? There you are. Sorry, any questions? Yes, no, no? Okay. I think they're a fun feature. But then here, so now I'll take a minute and I'll kind of show you my new approach to my course design at the moment. And that definitely won't take 20 minutes. So if you guys have any comments or questions after that, we can definitely get to those. Let's see. So I'm going to log out of my demo account here and actually go to my account. All right. So what I did this time was I cleared out my whole class. And the very first thing I did was go to grades and go through Setup Wizard. So that way all of my categories would be there the way I like. Like I said, a bunch of you I randomly put in my class, so there would be people for examples. So if you ever want to look at my class from the student view, feel free. It should show up in your waffle icon. But so I set up my grade book and I added all of my categories. So I have Newton Alta assignments, discussion and participation, other assignments, and then final activities. Oh, sorry. Hold on. And then what I did was I opted to go through each of the categories to add the items that I'm looking for. So I went to discussions and I set up my discussion forums. So I have two major forums. I did the new forum and I set up rendezvous point and I set up weekly discussions. For this weekly discussions, I put the guidelines I'm planning on using for all of them right here in the description for the weekly discussions. So when you add the forum, in the properties, it has title and then description. So I said, here's my guidelines. Create your initial thread no later than the last day of the week. And then I gave guidance, since we're all new to it, on how they're going to do that. And I clarified that initial thread was initial response, since we have not called them thread in the past. I gave them guidance on the response, and I have turned on the upvote feature in mine. So that's basically they can click a plus button next to it.
Can we actually copy and adjust it for our own language?
Yes.
From yours?
You are more than welcome to. And if you don't have my course on yours, let me know and I will add you.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then I gave them guidance on how many they should have total. So they're making a total of 3 posts, 1 thread, 2 replies. And then be sure to check out the discussion rubric. And so I quick linked the rubric here. So remember, for like our quick link, I hit the link button and then I chose rubric from the list. And if you didn't have a rubric here that you wanted to use, you could do the manage rubrics and add it. So then I went ahead and clicked on discussion rubric and it links to it automatically. So we'll pull up the rubric that you have made for the class. I also added restrictions to mine because I have students do a an academic honesty pledge and a pre-course survey, kind of like you guys had to do here. You had to do the pre-survey before you could access anything. So I also set that up for the forum as a whole, so I didn't have to do it topic by topic. If you're going to set up like a release condition like this, these activities have to be made first. So I actually made my forum, and then after I did these, I went back in and added them. But so then in my rendezvous point, you know, like a gathering place, I put my general questions, my introduction forums. I'm also going to add like water cooler type forum here. But then I started to add my weekly discussions. So discussion 1 is here, you know, and it's the same thing. Add them. You can go ahead and click your drop down to click add topic, or from the top of your page, you can hit new topic and then choose which forum you're putting that new topic in. So I also did my general questions. I decided to allow for anonymous asking. So I said you can ask questions anonymously in case they think their question is silly and they don't want to be associated with it. But I did also make sure that it's a moderated forum. So since they are asking or have the option to ask anonymously, that I would be able to see it before it was shared with everybody else. And then I also asked them to use the upvote button to indicate if they have the same question. So rather than them adding or replying and saying, I have the same thing, they could just click the upvote button and see if, and say, oh, I have that same thing, rather than actually making a separate reply. So after, I added a bunch of discussions, then I went to the content feature. And I kind of decided, and I said, okay, here's my welcome area. That's my first one. And the first thing I did was add an existing activity because I had already made those discussions. So I said, oh, I'm going to need to add that discussion from the rendezvous point. I need my introductions. So I went ahead and did that way. I'm going to take it away because now it's there twice. But you got to wait a second, bud. Go find the remote. But so that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm kind of going through the discussions, and I'm adding all of my discussions at once because I'm kind of copying and pasting stuff over from my Moodle discussions. And then I'm going to go to assignments and add all of my assignments in. And then I'm going to content. And after I set up whatever modules I want to set up, I'm using that existing activities feature to link to those assignments and discussions. And after I have all of those done, then I'm going to get to adding my content and using those HTML templates like we talked about. All right. So are there any questions? Do you guys have any comments?
So Katt, Deb again, just so I understand. So you did it methodically by doing your grade setup first, then you filled in your discussions, then assignments, and then lastly was your content.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I added all of the pieces that I wanted because I think in terms of like, like how we normally build a syllabi,
Right.
and we put those deliverable items on the syllabi. We say, here are the things you have to do. Right. So I built all of those things that they have to do first. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going back.
And so I'm sorry, I didn't start working on this yet for my class, but when you import the Moodle content, is it worth it? Is it, I'm on the fence because it sounds like you might need to build the whole thing, from scratch. Is it worth bringing in the Moodle content?
I think it is. And for me, it was just too much and reorganizing and whatnot, the way my course was built. But Diane's been having pretty good luck with it based on what you said.
I ended up actually using the same approach Katt did, except just finding out about the grades today. So as she's been talking, I've been doing exactly what she said. But I did go back and did exactly what she just described. So I first just did the discussions, rearranged, made sure all the discussions were in order, then the assignments, and then I'm doing my content last. But I did pull everything over from Moodle. The only thing it didn't pull in is the way that my nice pictures and stuff like that. So I had to go through and do that by, from scratch. But I thought it was worth pulling everything over. But then again, I had streamlined it so there wasn't a whole lot of stuff. And I had been using the Moodle pages. So those pages were already there in Brightspace. So I just have to clean them up in terms of using the accessibility because the type came out really small. So I just have to kind of use 16-point font and a better font in those pages because it pulled it over as a page. So I just have to kind of make it look better. But I can't use one of those pretty templates because that would basically wipe out everything.
So, and that's good news, Diane. So roughly, how many hours did you put into doing all that so far?
Honestly, as Katt has been teaching us, I've been having my window open on the side and doing it as she talks every week.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I haven't been spending a whole lot of time, and then maybe just like an hour or so afterwards on Fridays. That's really all I've been dedicating to tidying it up.
Oh, that's nice. Good for you. Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's that. Anything else, guys? Don't have anything else off the top of my head. Somewhere I don't have, I think I have this junk in here. Somewhere I have my syllabus that I did, because we can add these nice pages and they show up here right now. I did the interactive table of contents with all of our mandatory stuff. So I'm going to add that there hopefully today. So if you want to look at it, because then it'll be, it has like my Brightspace disclaimer for students, like you're on Brightspace, here's why, thanks for being our guinea pigs, kind of. You get to use the nice new app. You don't have to download things if you don't want to. I promise it'll be fun. But I'll show it to you so we can see. Maybe here. Let me stop presenting for a second. If anybody else has any questions, I'll see if I can find it quick.
I have a question, but it's only tangentially related. When we're on Zoom, I know how to record on Zoom, but how do we import the recording into the course?
I don't know yet, because I
Okay.
don't know how we are keeping the Zoom recordings, if they're on the cloud versus on your computer. If it's on your computer, you're just going to be, what's that word I'm looking for? Things. You're just going to upload a file. That's what it is. So like the Zoom recording gives you save locally or save to the cloud. If you save locally, it's saved on your computer and it will just be a file on your computer. So you'll go to content and you'll say insert file and you can drag and drop your file on. If we're saving to the cloud, you can like password protect it, but it'll just be adding a URL then. So you'd do like update add, and you would choose URL from the list, and you would give the URL for that video.
Sounds like you do know.
Yeah. Yes. I just don't know how we're saving yet. I don't know if we have. I have not investigated with the Pro account if we'll be able to save to the cloud or not. But hopefully we